So now we're looking at our little chart, our chords chart, and we've seen that on the Re, we've got a D minor 7 chord, which was that one. So that D minor 7 chord is actually the chord we can play before the fifth, before the G7, and then the C major. That will create a chord progression which have like 2 falling fifths. And the 2 falling fifths, and actually what we've got now is like a cadenza. We call, in jazz music, we call it the 2-5-1. And it's like the most common and most basic chord structure in jazz you will ever find. Vishnu, please play the 2-5-1 for us. That's a 2, that's a D minor. That's a 5. And that's a 1. Okay, cool, that's enough. Thanks. And so that's what you find in almost all traditional jazz pieces, everywhere. And it's basically, they on all compositions, they take a lot of these 2-5-1s and put it anywhere. And for every tune which I would reharmonize, so it sounds jazzy, I would always use these kind of cadenzas. And now you will ask, hey, we can use another fifth falling to the 2. And you're right. So, anyone got an idea which note is that fifth coming from? Okay, let me tell you. It's coming, like we've got a D, so it must coming from the A. The A is in our scale. We are still like in C major mentally. It's on the 6th. So we have a falling from the Da to the Ri, from Ri to Pa, from Pa to Sa. And that's called the 1-6-2-5 or 2-5-1-6 chord progression. Or in jazz, they call it also the turnaround, because you have it in traditional jazz. You have that thing on every end of the form. So, let you explain you how usually a jazz, like a traditional jazz standard, works. You have a form of a limited bar numbers. Most of the time, is like 12 bars, 24 bars, or 32 bars. And this form has melody and their harmonies. And when people start to improvise over this form will be, at the end of the form you have another form. So it's in a way a little bit like with the tala. So just the tala is very long. It's like 32 bars. And then you've got, the cycle is starting again. So at the end of every cycle, harmonically, you always have this turnaround. And Vishnu, let's play the turnaround. Can you play the turnaround? Just like the 1-6-2-5. That's a 1, yeah. That's a 6. That's a 2. And a 5. And that was actually what we were playing in the beginning. So that's like, a little bit more advanced version of the most basic chord structure in jazz. And now my actual point was talking about the melodic approaches, because I don't know, many of you wouldn't be like harmonical players. They will be probably, I saw someone with a flute, so you think like how to play over it. So what I find in India a lot is people approaching these kind of music thinking of, okay, which scale do I play on top of this chord? And if that's happening, it is, I wouldn't say it's a wrong or like a bad approach. You can use it, but from the sound you will get will be just like very, very particular thing. Let me demonstrate. Let's play the 1-6-2-5, and I just play the right scales on each chord. That's pretty much the sound you get on it, and it's quite limited. I mean, like you play that for a while, and then it becomes a little bit like it's easy to run out of ideas when you do that. So now it comes a little bit coming closer to my point of this little workshop. What else can we do improvising on these kind of chords? And one major approach, which is like very, very old, like that was the jazz approach of the 20s actually, is that you only take the notes of the actual chord. And you only play arpeggios with these kind of notes, and make sure the first note in the next chord will be one of the nicer ones. The nicer ones is the ones which give the character to the chord, and the character of the chord will not be the chord will not get the character by the sa and the pa. It will get the character by the da and the ni, because these are the major differences in the chords. So let me demonstrate now how it sounds if I only use like the arpeggios of the chords. I mean, I can do it without Vishnu first, and then I do it with Vishnu, and then you might probably hear already when I play without him which chord I'm playing. So it's a little bit also like actually what Bach was doing in 200, 300 years ago. But I'm coming to that later. Let's play together, and I'm playing only the basic chord notes. 165. So that's very different from the scale like approach, from that other approach, thinking of which scale am I using. I mean, from this approach with the chords, I could only use like a mixture, like I can mix it up with the scales and the chords, and that will make it very interesting. If I use sometimes the chord notes and sometimes the scale notes, but always when I use the scale notes, make sure the first one in the next chord is going to be one of the important notes. And it's actually a good way to practice to play over chords. If you just play, if you have a melodic instrument, you just play like the actual chord notes and try to connect them, create melodies out of it. Just restriction will always give you a good, give you a big freedom at the end if you restrict yourself when you practice. So from there we could use. I mean, the next thing which we could talk later as well about is like maybe after the workshop. I don't know how many of you guys have been at this point, or like want to know more about it. At this, like in jazz, what we use a lot is using chromatic approach notes to those towards these chord notes. So, for example, if I have a C major chord, I would have like chromatic approach notes from the down to the actual note will sound like. That's just a C major. And if I use the other notes of the scale as well and look at them a little bit separately, I can create patterns like. And if I use it with all these other chords as well, I can create quite interesting melodies using these chromatic approach notes. Can we just play the 1625 and I'm using chromatic approach notes? And that's basically all I did now, and it sounds a little bit like jazz of the 30s, 40s, 50s. It's pretty much that age. Like melodically, things after the 50s and 60s got way more advanced, and I think it's a little bit too much for now. But yeah, that's basically the point here on this workshop. Are there any questions up to this point? Now, please ask me these questions. All right, cool. Then I think we'll play a little bit more, and maybe you get some questions after that. Okay, we play a little blues, and I'm just applying all what I just told on that little blues. Thanks. So that was a little blues we played, and it's actually also like the blues is a very important form and structure in jazz. You will find it in every in every single year of jazz music. There were so many blues songs recorded, and they all also changed, and there are lots of songs, lots of blues songs, which are probably not really, you wouldn't really identify them as a blues song, but they are. They've got this 12-bar structure, which is like divided into three parts of 4 bars. And what I did just now was more or less just a little bit old-fashioned way playing over it, the way I explained it to you, like using the chord notes and few blues licks in between, but very very different from the scale approach, like which was actually very popular in the 60s, like 58, when Miles Davis recorded the kind of blue recording. They used the modal, they introduced modal jazz and did a lot of the scale stuff in jazz. But before that, it was very basically very much basic on the chord things. So what I can do now, even as with a melodic instrument, I can play chords which are not there. So Vishnu is not playing them, but I play them, and suddenly you will hear, you might probably hear the chord, and it will be, yeah, what's happening there? For example, if I play just that lick, something like that. It's actually based, the melody I played is based on the chord. That's a minor chord.